to you, Charles.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come on here to share a little bit about my story. Again, I've been signed up for 6.5 years. So I have plenty of little breakthroughs and all these things that have happened throughout my journey. So I just wanted to come on here and share with you guys one of the biggest breakthroughs I had. And it all came down to my mindset. And that's what I'm going to talk about today is mindset, limiting beliefs, kind of what I personally did to overcome them. But a few warnings. A lot of people come onto these types of calls and trainings. Again, I've been signed up for 6 years, so I've been to a lot of different trainings, and I have definitely been the personality type in the past where I'd come on here and sit here and twiddle my thumbs and go, they're going to share the big secret this time. And that's the big secret is there is no big secret. So everything I'm going to share with you, you've probably already heard before. The difference is knowing it and actually doing it. And it's that mindset that takes you from knowing it and actually doing it. So that's just my first warning I want to give you guys is I don't want you to be disappointed. I'm not going to share any groundbreaking news, but I'm going to share what worked for me. So diving straight into kind of the big Cancun story, right? So Cancun was more than just a trip. Cancun, a little bit of backstory is my upline coach, Jason, had brought me to the 2012 trip for Success Club, the Bahamas. And I was just as a guest. I did not earn that trip. Success Club, I had tried to go for that year and I hit maybe 2 months out of the 12. And so Jason's like, I'm going to bring you anyways. Come on over. So I went, had a blast. But that was one of my big moments where I saw what success could look like as far as a lifestyle. The freedom to go travel. And I had to go back to a job I hated. And that bugged the crap out of me. So I got home and I started working. So 2013, I had told Jason, we saw the cruise pop up for that year. And I told Jason, thank you for bringing me on the trip, but you're never going to take me as your guest again. And I was thinking as a newlywed, I couldn't afford to take my wife on the honeymoon she deserves. So I saw this cruise pop up and I said, boom, that's it. So 2013, January, I started working my butt. So I signed up 6.5 years ago, but it was January 2013, I started working the business. So from that point, went on 2013, kicked butt. That was my big mental transformation. Earned the trip. We had a blast on the cruise. And I remember telling Trista, we are never going to have to struggle to get on these trips again. We're never going to have to go through the I can't afford it conversation again. We're never going to have to do that because once I made that decision to make it happen, there was no other option for me. I just went. So fast forward to Cancun gets announced. I bust my royal butt in 2014 to earn this trip, and I earned the trip by the end of May. I racked up those points like crazy. I helped a ton of people get into the business in both my challenge groups at the time. So I earned the trip by May, and it's currently May right now. So there was a year where we're kind of, I found myself hitting cruise control almost, right? I got into kind of management mode last year. And all of a sudden, we creep up towards the date of Cancun coming up. And I had just flown down to a Dallas event, which was for men's leadership. So we had Jimmy Hayes Nelson and a bunch of top guys, Mark Briggs, all those guys were down there doing this great event. And guess what they talked about a lot of? It was the hidden hours, what you're doing when nobody's looking. And it was also limiting beliefs, having the belief that you can do it. So coming out of that trip, that was 2 weeks before Cancun. And here's where we get into, oh crap, is what happened. You guys ever have those moments in life when you go to check your bank account and you look at the bills coming up for the month and you think, this number's lower than what I need? That happened to us at the beginning of April. And so I scraped by to get down to this Dallas event. And down there, I went with my upline coach, my buddy Jason, and I remember having to tell Jason, we're not going to be able to go. Now, you rewind a little bit to where literally the morning at 2:30 in the morning that I was going to fly down to Dallas. I was just me going. My wife was going to stay home because we have a newborn baby. So I will never forget this moment where my wife Trista woke up at 2:30 in the morning. And I remember I was going to go to the airport and I was going to book my flight down to Cancun for us. And it was a Friday morning, 2:30 a.m. And I remember that because I remember thinking, ooh, it's Trista's payday because she has a regular job at a medical field. So I remember thinking, oh, we have this safe, secure 2-week paycheck coming in, right? And so 2:30 in the morning, I roll over and the first thing I do, I grab this thing, so I could check our bank balance, because I'm expecting a certain number from her account. And when I found out that number was about $400 less than what I was expecting, that's where the oh crap moment happened. So 2:30 in the morning on that Friday, I had to wake her up because we had to go down to the airport anyways. I was going to go down to Dallas, and I had to tell her, we're not going to be able to make Cancun happen. It's not going to happen. And for me, this was another Beachbody trip, right? And for her, I look at the fact that we have that newborn. He's about 5 months now. So the last 5 months, we've been going through all the things new parents get to go through. If you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The sleepless nights, you're exhausted, you get to go through all that. Plus, there was a little bit of labor issue, which led into lung development issues. So he was actually inside of the intensive care unit for 2 weeks, which we lived at the hospital for those 2 weeks. And thank God for Beachbody, that paid my bills so I can take that time off and go be with my boy. That's a whole nother backstory. So getting into the whole Cancun thing. So I'm looking at the trip for me. Yeah, it's going to be a great Beachbody trip. I've been on tons of these by now, but I missed the fact that for my wife, this was more than just a Beachbody gig. This was her vacation. This was her break, because luckily we have lots of family around the area. So they were going to take our boy for the week while we were going to go down. So we've been planning all this buildup, and all of a sudden, because of that one number I saw in the bank, and I looked at all the bills we had to pay, and I looked at the plane tickets, and I'll never forget that look. And for those of you husbands out there or spouses, you'll understand this. When I had to roll over and wake her up and say, babe, I'm before we head to the airport, I have to tell you, Cancun's not happening. We can't afford it. And she gave me oh, it's okay. We all know that look. If you've been in a relationship, you know that sound and that look, that's not okay. There was a lot of disappointment in there, and that instantly lit an initial fire in me. So I was fired up, almost to a point of just being so pissed off with myself, because the second I had to tell her I can't afford it, the second that came in through my head, I started reflecting back on the prior 4, 5, 6 months, and all those times that I was laying on the couch. All those times I didn't pick up the phone and make the calls. All those times I chose being lazy over being productive. When I said I can't afford to take you to Cancun, like I promised you a year ago, everything just hit me at once. And so I went to the airport almost pissed off, and I said, I'm going to make this happen one way or another. So I sat in the airport the whole time, and I'm sitting here checking tickets, trying to find the best prices. We had 2 weeks up until this Cancun trip was going to happen. Those tickets were not going to be cheap. And so getting into Dallas, great Dallas event. All of a sudden I had these realizations, and I got so fired up to get home and get back to work, right? Because I already made the decision, okay, Cancun's not going to happen, but I'm fired up from this leadership event. I'm going to go home and I'm going to work, and I'm going to take Trista to Hawaii in a couple months or something like that. I'm going to make up for it. That was my mentality. And I told Jason, we're not going to be able to go. Because of course, being one of my best friends and my business partner for the last 6 years, he kind of was like, what? What do you mean you're not going? You've been on every trip for the last couple of years. I told him, we might be able to scrape by and get down there, but coming back, we have bills, we have a new baby to take care of, all this stuff. And it was just excuse after excuse after excuse. I already made the decision before the time was up that I wasn't going to get it. And how many of you have done that? Think of a goal that you really, really wanted to achieve, and you just quit before the deadline was up. You let this take over more than anything. That limiting belief that I need over $1,000 to get these tickets. I don't have $1,000. That limiting belief automatically just hit the brakes. I made the decision. So when I got back home, it was a Sunday night, and then Monday morning, I remember we were out to go pick something up, and it was just the awkward tension. I had just got back from this trip. I hadn't seen her for the weekend, and the last time I saw her was, we can't afford Cancun. So it was this awkward tension, and I finally just said, okay, babe, just lay it on me. There's something wrong. Just lay it on me. And she said, I'm not going to lie. I was really, really looking forward to that trip. And she's like, don't get me wrong. I know you worked hard. I know you did everything you could. And at that moment, that phrase, I know you did everything you could, I instantly again reflected on all those times I chose laziness. And I thought, I really didn't do everything I could. That wasn't good enough. I could have done better. If knowing I was going to be faced with this situation, I would have busted my ass more than ever. What we do today is affecting 6 months from now. And that's something a lot of us forget. That's something I forgot. I lost focus. So going into that car ride, we got home. I came upstairs. I have my little home office here. I came upstairs. I shut the door. I just sat here and thought, what am I doing? I looked at the date. I'm like, I have a week. I have 7 friggin' days. 8 days, if you want to be technical. I had 8 friggin' days to make this work. I didn't know how. That's all I kept going through my head was how. Yeah, that would be fun to go, but how, right? The how is always what stops us from even trying something. But when you're focused and you have intensity and you have passion to achieve something, and more importantly, you have the clear vision for it, the how doesn't matter. You'll figure out a way. So I sat down. First thing I did was I cleaned my desk because it was unorganized and cluttered, and that affected here. I didn't realize how much it was affecting me. And in that moment, I realized one big limiting belief I've had for a long time. Even though I am now fortunate enough to do Beachbody full-time, I do massage therapy part-time on my terms. I don't have to work for spas and clinics anymore because of Beachbody. Even though I get to do that for myself, my wife's still going to work. There's 3 days a week. She does not get to be home with my baby boy. This is all stuff that was running through my head. And from that point forward, I put my damn foot down. I said, I'm going to make this work. I do not know how, but I'm going to make it work. The biggest thing that I did was I started taking this shit seriously. I'm going to start listing off a couple random bullet points. I have about 10 things I wrote down. I'm going to give you guys my summary of my notes afterwards. So if you don't have a way to take notes, which most of us do, I'll provide them for you afterwards. But when it comes to taking notes, guys, I want you to have something in front of you right now because I'm going to start listing off a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be using terms like you need to and you should, but don't take that offensively like I'm scolding you. These are things I was telling myself more than anything. So I'm going to run through these things. Whatever sticks out at you in your situation, in your life, and where you're at with your business, you write that down, you put it into action. Don't do what you may have done on several other trainings. You're like, oh yeah, temporary inspiration, write it down, put it in a notebook, close the notebook, and you never look at it again. I know I've done that several times. So number 1, I took this shit seriously. I used this as my only option. And backtracking to my limiting belief that I finally realized after that incident was, I've been relying on my wife's income as a cushion. It's okay if I don't pull in a big week on Beachbody this week to cover our rent because my wife's check is coming in. I didn't catch, for all these years, I didn't catch that was a limiting belief of mine, was the fact that I can use Beachbody to solely pay for everything. I've been relying on my wife's check. So the first thing that I did was I sat down, again, cleared my desk. I made a game plan. And again, these are kind of the bullet points I was talking about to myself. So number 1, again, I took this shit seriously. And for once in my life, I said, I'm going to treat Beachbody like it's my only option because at this point it is. My wife does not deserve to be away from her boy to work 3 days a week. I want her to work because she wants to, not because she has to help pay the bills. I treated it like my only option. I know some of you are in a similar situation where you have a spouse that's bringing in a secondary income. So it's easy to slack a little bit throughout the week and think, oh, it's okay. They still have this check coming in. We're good on bills. We can buy food. We can buy all the stuff you need to buy. But let me ask you this, and it's a scary, scary thought. What if your spouse came home one day and said that they got canned? They don't know what they're going to do. And all of a sudden you're thinking the first thought is, I have to take care of the income. How am I going to do that? If you are not in a position right now to be able to solely by yourself provide for your entire household, especially with Beachbody, that should be a motivator to get going now. Because if you're stuck in a position like I was, you may not even realize that you are setting a limiting belief on yourself that it's okay if Beachbody doesn't work this week because my spouse's or my partner's income is going to help us out. You need to pretend like that income doesn't even exist. Number 2 was you have to treat like your only option. Number 3, this was a question I asked myself. Is that all you've got? And with that question, I want you guys to reflect on what you did today. I want you to reflect on what you did yesterday, the last 7 days, the last 3 months. Is that all you've got? Because if you have not been going 100%, you're not making this thing work, because that's truly what it takes. I'm going to give an example of that in a minute. Next thing I really hammered on myself on about was I've been saying for the last 2 years, since I started treating the business like a business, for the last 2 years, I've been telling my team, I want to be a leader. I wasn't acting like one. So that's tip number 4 is you want to be a leader, you have to start acting like it. Are you doing diamond level work when you want to be a diamond? Or are you thinking diamond would be cool and that's my goal, but I'm just going to put in emerald level work? If you're only talking to 2 people a day and you're inviting 2 people a day, good luck getting emerald. If you're talking to 5 people a day, 10 people a day, 15, there's your diamond and star diamond level work. It comes down to the amount of people that you're talking to. That's as simple as our business is. You can know all the business tactics. You can know all the step-by-step systems. You can know all of that stuff. But everything boils down to getting your butt out there and talking to people and inviting them. That leads me into number 5, which is if you don't share what we have to offer, especially the business opportunity, how the hell are people going to know what is out there? So many of us sit back and think, wow, I really want to invite this person. Wow, this person would make a great coach. Ask them, have you ever considered, fill in the blank, creating a secondary income from home, joining my team as a Beachbody coach? You can fill it in with whatever your niche is. But that's one of the biggest things is we all have a fear of talking to people because we have fear of judgment. The biggest thing you need to do is just say screw it and invite them anyways. What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no. So what if they say no? Okay, great. Would you like me to follow up in a month? Yes or no? Okay, great. Have a nice day. And then you move on to the next one. Just keep it as simple as that. Number 6, this is one of my favorites. I posted this inside the TFR group a few weeks back, so some of you probably already know this one. I want you all to do it. If you're watching this live thing, I can see you guys. Reach your hand up as high as you can. Everyone do it. I see who's not. Okay, now reach it 1 inch higher. How come you guys didn't do that the first time? You can put your hands down. Is anyone else getting an aha moment right now? If you are asked to reach your hand as high as you can, and you're only going, no one's really watching, I'll go 75. And then something comes along and pushes you, you're like, oh yeah, I got 100. I'm right here. Here's my 100. And then that thing goes away again. You're like, okay, I can relax 75 again. Oh, it's back. Here's 100. That may be in the term of what I used to do with my coach, Jason, was I waited around for him to come push me. I love challenges. So I used to just sit here and wait, like, what's the next challenge, Jason? When are you going to reach out and push me? And that can be in the term of a big push. I know I've had this happen is all of a sudden you look at your bank account and you realize you can't cover your bills for the next month. All of a sudden, boom, something switches and all of a sudden you put 100% in and guess what? You make it happen, right? I know that's happened to me several times. So that's the reach your hand high example. And look that, the hand is a great example of what you're probably doing in your business. If you're going 75%, that's not enough. I hate to break it to you, 99% is not enough. You have to be all in. You have to be level 3. You have to do this thing. Take it seriously. Next one is become a visionary. I love this one. If you guys have not seen Eric Worre's videos on, there's 3 different levels. You guys have probably seen it. So you have the pessimist, realist, and the visionary. The visionaries, we're the 2%. It's a very lonely, lonely world because there are only 2% of people up here. We're the ones who are the creative ones. We're the ones who, and no one's, I don't think anyone's necessarily born this way. You have to condition your mind to get there. And it comes through personal development, which if you're not doing that, do it every single day. You can quit the business right now. If you say, oh, I don't want to do that stuff, you can just quit because you're not going to get anywhere without it. You hear it repeated over and over and over in Beachbody because it works. That's why it's part of the 3 vital behaviors. If you're missing any one of those 3 chunks of the pie, might as well just get out. You're not going to make it happen. You have to learn to become a visionary. And becoming a visionary does not mean you're this super creative Einstein person. Becoming a visionary just means you learn to dream big for yourself. You learn to set high goals, because guess what? If you look at a realist, which most of us are, if you look at a realist and we only set our bar up this high, let's say you want to talk about money, right? If you set the bar here and say, I'm going to make $25,000 this year with Beachbody, I'm going to make 25 grand. There's the bar, right? So guess what? You're only putting in that much work to try to push it and get there. But if you're a visionary and you say, you know what, screw it. What could possibly be holding me back? I'm going to make 100 grand. I'm going to make 6 figures this year. So guess what? You have all this extra work that you're doing to get there. And here's the kicker. If you set your goal low and you hit it and you do hit 25,000, you're like, yeah. But if you set the goal for 6 figures way up here, and even if you miss it and you only make 60,000, 60 is a lot better than 25, isn't it? That's the benefit in being a visionary. And it takes time, guys. You have to condition your mind to think that way. Because a lot of us look at a big goal and think, oh yeah, we'll see. I'll try. We use terms like this and it's all BS. You have to ask yourself, when you see a big goal, instead of thinking, yeah, that would be nice, I'll try, maybe, or we'll see. Why don't you say, you know what steps do I have to take today to get there? It may take 6 months, it may take a year, it may take 5 years. If your vision is big enough and you want it bad enough, you will do whatever it takes to get there. And this is going back into my next bullet point, which is going to be talking about momentum. This is one of the hardest things to get going, guys, because like a car, it takes a lot of force up front to push. And once that thing gets rolling, you don't have to push as hard and it keeps consistency. But if all of a sudden it stops, screw it. You have to do it all over again. It sucks, right? So here's a really great example, again, from an Eric Worre training I saw. He had a pilot stand up in the room. I said, let me ask you a question. If your plane is cruising at 38,000 feet, right, you're on cruise control, maintenance, just maintenance mode. If you're cruising, all of a sudden your plane stalls and starts to drop, what's the only way to get it back up to where it needs to be? And the pilot replies back with 100% throttle. And Eric says, what about 75? Nope, has to be 100%. What about 99%? What about 99% throttle? Is that enough to get it back up to where it needs to be and get that momentum rolling again? No. All in, 100%. Especially if you're watching this call, you're probably one of those 100%. You're all in. And if you're in a position I was at before, you may be watching this call and all the other calls, reading all the books, not doing a damn thing with it. That's not being all in. That's being a fly on the wall. You love to watch everything. You love to absorb. But unless you're taking what you learn and apply it, not going to get anywhere. So if you're in a position where you've fallen off track and you're trying to figure out how to get this fire going back on, I know we had some hype going around about this call. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to hear this mindset training by Chaz. I know you're probably in a position, if you were that excited to hear me speak, I'm not sharing anything that's groundbreaking or new, but you're probably stuck in a spot where your business is just stuck. Maybe it's fallen. Guys, I have rebuilt. I used to be really, really careful. I did not tell this to anybody, and it's a very vulnerable subject for me, but I have rebuilt my diamond rank 8 times. 8 flipping times I have checked my back office and saw one coach status changed from emerald to coach. You are now dropped down to emerald. 8 flipping times I've seen that happen. And guess what? I got up 9 times. Not letting it happen again. How many of you would have quit on the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one? That's what all in is. There's nothing that will stop you. You have to become unstoppable. And again, all in. If you're taking notes, write that in caps. All in. No more messing around. Take this shit seriously. Next one is one of my all-time favorites. Motivation. I love the term motivation. I think motivation is crap, actually. I used to look for external sources to get me motivated and pumped up, right? I've learned that motivation is, it's an emotion. It's temporary like anything else. Happiness is temporary. Sadness, all that kind of stuff is temporary, right? You're so caught up in the moment. So when you're motivated, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go lift a car or something. I'm going to go build this business to 10-star diamond and make, $50,000 a week. It's easy to get motivated. It's an emotion. Stop looking for the external factor to continually motivate you. You want motivation? If you're feeling like I was, this is going to tie into Cancun, I promise. If you're feeling like I was before I put my foot down and made Cancun happen, I was stuck in my business. I was lazy. I had zero motivation. And the kicker is I had 0 messages in my inbox, and I had zero conversations going, Success Club 0. I didn't have a whole lot going for those 2 weeks between Dallas and before we landed in Cancun. It was a 2-week period where I was stuck. That momentum was stopped. That car I had pushing, it just came to a halt. I had nothing going on, which is why I made the decision at the time that we're not going to be able to afford Cancun because I don't have any way of creating income for it. So when I started thinking, what can I do to get this going? I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing a whole lot. It came through activity. So I literally sat down. Actually, you know what? I'm going to share that in a minute. I'll finish up with this last bullet point. So keep in mind, motivation comes from activity. I'm going to share some of those activities in a minute. And then here's the last one, guys. So it sounds like all fun and games, right? If you're all pumped up right now, like, yeah, I'm going to go all in. The second you make a decision to go all in and make something happen for yourself, you are going to get tested way more than you think you are. One of the things that I did doing massage therapy part-time, one of the things that I did to help generate some extra income to get to Cancun was, it's funny how I've run a massage business for the last 3 years. I've been licensed for 7 years, worked for other companies, but I've been doing massage as my own business for the last 3 years. And I found that running a massage business is exactly like Beachbody. It's just a different service, which is I've always found that kind of funny. So one of the things that I had to do was I had to follow up with some of my old clients that maybe it's been 6 months and call them up and see how they're doing. Say, hey, it's been a while since I've seen you. What's going on? And so one of the things I started doing was I started booking these massage clients. Actually, right here, you see the massage table. This is literally my home office. So I started booking some clients on this table. And I'll never forget, about 2 days after I had booked all these clients, just massage alone, I'm like, oh, sweet. I can make this is like half of the income that I need for Cancun. I'm set just on massage alone, not even including what I'm getting with Beachbody. So I was all pumped up, right? About 2 days after that, I had to take a picture of my calendar and send it to Jason because I sent him one when I had it booked. I had to send him another thing and say, all those clients I booked? Yeah, about 3/4 of them canceled just last minute. All of a sudden it's like, there goes $500. That's the kind of stuff that's going to happen when you make a decision to make something happen. When you say, I'm going to go all in, when you set a goal and you say, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this, you're going to have stuff come up. Life is going to happen. You're going to have family stuff going on. You're going to have business stuff going on. Your best emerald is going to drop out. You're going to have a return, which gets you -1 Success Club points. You're going to have stuff happen. But again, if I rebuilt Diamond 8 times and I'm just a normal dude in this business, I'm not some superstar. I'm not recognized on the team calls or anything like that. You can do it too. Literally, there is nothing holding you back but yourself. And that's why I'm all about this right here, your mindset. So that was bullet point number 10, was the decision. What will go wrong? And you have to be prepared for it. You're going to get knocked on your butt more than you want, and you're going to have to get up every single time and maybe rebuild a few times. That's perfectly fine. So getting into kind of what I did. So 2:30 in the morning on a Friday, I had to tell my wife we can't afford it. I went to Dallas, came back motivated, but I wasn't motivated for Cancun. I was motivated for the next thing to make it happen. And that car ride again, when Trista told me up front, she's like, I know you've been working hard. You've done everything you can do. And really, in my mind, I knew I did not do everything I can do because of my limiting beliefs, because I've been stuck at Diamond for 3 years. So Diamond is the only rank I can achieve. I've only ever made $1,000 in a week. I'll tell you up front, we needed $1,600 to get those tickets. Not just plane tickets. We were going in a day early, so we had to get the extra hotel and food for that day and that stuff. We needed $1,600. We did not have a dime of that to spare. I had all these limiting beliefs. I had all these things I was putting on myself, and I didn't even realize it. So when I put my foot down, I started getting to work. There's going to be a 4 bullet point series on what did I do? What was my game plan? The number one thing that I did was I got crystal clear with what I wanted, which obviously was I need to get my wife to Cancun one way or another. And I needed to have focused intensity. And this comes down to one of my favorite examples is, for those of you on the live call right now, do a quick glance around your room and count how many red things you find. Okay, now tell me how many yellows you saw. You probably didn't register any yellows, even if it's in your room, right? Because you were focusing on red. What we focus on, we see more of. One of my favorite quotes, where your focus goes, your power flows. So rewind to what I said, where I had 0 conversations in my inbox. And guys, your entire inbox drives your business because it's your conversations. You can do all the Facebook posts and Instagram posts you want and just sit there and wait for people to come to you, and it's not going to happen. Your inbox will drive your business. And I had 0, which means I had 0 potential of creating any type of income or helping anybody. So the first thing I did was I focused on, I get caught at the time, I do it, I just did it earlier today. I caught myself doing this. I sit there and look at my inbox and my Facebook, and I just go, what am I going to do today? I don't have anybody to follow up with. I don't have anything going on. Maybe I'll just shut my laptop and go watch TV, which I did for about a half hour this morning. I caught myself doing it and got right out of it. So if you find yourself inviting everybody to your pity party, you need to get over it, because if you're focusing on your lack of conversations, if you're focusing on any issues you have going on in life, if you have anything going on that's negative that you're focusing on, you're going to see more of it. It comes down to self-belief too, and limiting beliefs. A lot of people say, I can't achieve this because I'm shy. I can't achieve this because I have low confidence. I can't achieve this because blah, 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 insert whatever excuse. But here's the thing. If you're constantly thinking and focusing on the fact that you are shy, with low confidence, maybe you're not at your goal weight. If you keep focusing on these things, you're seeing more of it, aren't you? The frontal part of your brain is always focused on that. So that's all that you see. By switching your focus, it's like taking blinders off, and all of a sudden you see past that and you see, okay, maybe I am 10 pounds heavier than I need to be, but I have this program right here I can do. I can start right now. If you're focusing on for myself, I've only ever achieved diamond status. So that was kind of my limiting belief, was I'm a diamond. I would love to be 5-star elite, but I had this limiting belief that I'm a diamond, and I don't have the time to put in that much work that they do. I don't have the outgoing personality to do what they do. And all of a sudden I catch myself thinking this, and I switch and go, whoa, if all they're doing is what I'm doing, but just more of it, and I can use time management to create the time, maybe I'm not struggling as much as I think I am. So that's where you start to focus. So number one thing I did was I focused on my conversations. I focused on my inbox. And that leads me number 2 is follow-ups, guys. If you want to know how I made Cancun happen, how I generated income, it was follow-ups. Between my massage clients in my Beachbody world, I had to get on the phone or get on Facebook chat, and I had to follow up with people. And I kid you not, I went through my inbox. The first thing I did, right? So I'm sitting here going, I have zeros on my screen for everything. What am I going to do? I started with my inbox. I went to the first one, and I went boom, 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 boom. And I should have counted, but I didn't know I'd be doing a team call on this. I'd probably say I sent out probably 60 to 80 messages. And guess what they all said? It wasn't, hey, do you want to join my team? I really need some income off these challenge pack sales. It wasn't anything Beachbody related. It was, hey, it's been a while. How you been? Simple. The human part of us loves to take Beachbody tasks and make them so complicated that we get so overwhelmed and we just go, screw it, I'm not going to do it. Right? You ever made a to-do list that's so long you don't do any of it? Your follow-ups. That's where it's going to come from. You start with, hey, how's it going? How are you? No, seriously, how are you? Don't take good or fine as the final answer. There's more to it. You guys use your follow-ups in your inbox. That was the number one thing that I did, was I just started diving in my conversations. Number 3 is I switched my mentality. And again, this all came from Eric Worre. I was watching some of his stuff that same day and I'm like, why am I being an amateur? I can do professional level work. Why am I being an amateur at this? So I switched my tone to sound like a professional. I went to all those people that I knew were on the fence, because we all should have an ongoing contact list of who we're talking to, right? I went through my entire contact list. I got those conversations heated back up. And then when it got back down to either somebody I was talking to about business or somebody I was talking to about challenge group or challenge pack, whatever, I didn't beat around the bush anymore. I didn't ask all these external questions that didn't have meaning. I dove into what their goals are. I dove into why they really want this, not the superficial, I want to lose weight. Why? I dove into those conversations and I took those on the fence people and I just asked them, okay, listen, you want to achieve insert whatever goal they had. You want to achieve losing 50 pounds, right? So you can run around with your kids at the park and not be out of breath anymore. That's what you told me, right? Great. When would you like to get started? Well, I don't have the money. I can't afford it. Okay, no problem. When do you get paid? What can you sell? I've gone through, like for Cancun, this is one of my most painful things I had to do for Cancun. It wasn't talking to a lot of people. It wasn't getting out of my comfort zone doing that. It was, I had just bought this iPad package I spent way too much money for. And it was the first toy that I bought that I actually used for business. And I used the crap out of it for 6 weeks. I lost about $300 on that because I had to sell that. That was one of the first things I did, just to help cover rent so I can take the extra Beachbody money and go to Cancun. So that was one of the things I had to do. I got caught in the I can't afford it mindset. And I thought, what's the first thing I could do? I can talk to extra people to build Beachbody income. I could do a few extra massages. I can sell my iPad. That's the same thing we can help these guys understand too, when you're trying to sell challenge packs and get people in with the business and that kind of stuff. And you'll hear, I can't afford it, is the most common thing. It's not that they can't afford it. It's that they don't want it bad enough. I couldn't afford my plane tickets. So why was I able to do it? It's because that vision was so strong. I did everything it took to get there. So that's the tone of voice I was having with these conversations when it got down to business. Of course, I'm a caring guy, so I'm sitting here talking with some of my friends and all that stuff. But when it came down to business talk, it wasn't beating around the bush. It was simply, you want to achieve this goal, right? I have the solution for it. When do you want to do this? Because I'm ready now. That's the tone of voice I took. Look up the Eric Worre invite process, the 7-step process. That's the exact script that I used. Number 4 is I created a call to action. So all the people I was talking to, and it got down to business talk, challenge packs, business opportunities, all that stuff. I used a couple phrases that I'm going to share with you. And again, I'm going to share these notes with you all inside the group afterwards. And Angie, I'm going to wrap this up because I know I'm going a little over my time here. So a couple phrases I would use is, I'm starting a new business initiative and would love your support. Have you ever considered, and you can fill in the blank with whatever you're doing. I set a date for my next challenge group, and challenge groups can be tricky because they work for some people, but not for everybody. It's just like Tommy Migrant talked about in the leadership event. This is a football game, right? We have 11 people on our team and each team runs a different offense, right? Nobody goes to the Super Bowl running the exact same offense. We all have different offenses. Find what works for you. For me, challenge groups work great for a while. So I would do a free 5 to 7 day push-up squat challenge, that kind of stuff. And then I would lead into the challenge packs for the next 30-day group, whoever wanted it. I would set a date for my next Coach Basics, and I used that in my conversations for the people I was talking to. And I said stuff like, I'm looking for 5 people that are ready to build an income of $500 to $1,000. And of course, put your disclaimer under there too. Are you interested in creating a side income from home? I just kept it simple. And then next one is working more one-on-one approach, which is what I do now. I talk to a lot of people and I use this. I personally have achieved, and then I'll insert whatever I've achieved. It can be weight loss, financial goals, whatever you've achieved in your business and your life. And then you can end with, I'm actually right now looking for 5 people that I can help follow my path and do the same thing. Is that something you'd like more information in? So that's all I did there. Next one, this last one is, so you mentioned wanting to blank. Have you ever considered blank? You can literally fill that in with whatever you want. And then in closing, the number one thing that you have to do is just take action. One thing I heard actually earlier today I want to share with you real quick is you have to go out there with the mindset that you are going to win the day. You're not going to let your fear, you're not going to let your doubt, you're not going to let all that crap take over. You're not going to let your laziness win. We've all had days that it's 4 p.m. and we realized all we've done is watch 10 episodes of something. We've all had days where you have this epic to-do list and it's 9 o'clock at night and you're going, well, shit, I didn't finish any of that. Why? Because you let your laziness win the day. You let your fear win the day. Every single time that you think, I should reach out to this person, I should do this Facebook post, I should do this video. Every time you think that, but you don't follow through with it, you are letting your fear win. Your goal as a human being, not just Beachbody, your goal as a human being is to set goals for the day and you win them, not your fears. That's the biggest limiting belief that you're going to have on yourself is fear of something. Face it, fight it. It's always going to be there. You might as well just learn to strengthen yourself to overcome it better. Last thing is learn to generate energy. I love to talk and I'm a pretty energetic person naturally, but a lot of people are always like, how are you so motivated? How do you have so much energy? How do you go do your workout and then go do a boot camp class at night? I don't have any of that. No one wakes up necessarily motivated. No one has the energy when they wake up. You generate it through activity. If you're stuck in your business, if you are just feeling down about yourself, suck it up and start doing something. Make an easy to follow task list. Talk to 5 people today. Do your workout. That can be day 1. Day 2, do the exact same thing, but add on, you know what? I'm going to send out 5 business webinars to people today. You can record it yourself, use our team one here at TFR, use something that's a business video and send it to 5 people. That's how you start generating this stuff. And then all of a sudden you have focused intensity, and with intensity comes excitement, right? You ever have those days it's like boom, 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 you're kicking ass and all these things. You're like, yeah, I'm pumped up. That's how you generate energy. No one wakes up with that. You have to generate it. And it doesn't come through being lazy. It doesn't come by letting fear win the day. It's up to you to win the day. Thank you guys for having me on. Angie, I know I went on a little bit too long, but
No, Charles, I know you were great, and I think I know, like you I think you kind of hit all of us. Maybe not everybody, but I'm going to assume all of us. You hit us in the forehead a little bit. If anybody has any questions for Charles, we'd love to stay on the line for a minute or two. If you got a specific question for Charles, pop it in that chat box, and Charles will answer those questions, or message him on Facebook. Because I know Charles, when like Blake and I said, with our story, what do you do when you have your back against the wall and a gun to your head? Which I know is kind of politically incorrect to say that, but that's kind of where you were at, right? Yeah, and so
yep.
You took those 7 days and you did everything that you're supposed to do. I mean, granted, you had to kind of accelerate, but with that, it was you worked your inbox. You followed up with people, but you didn't blast them with, hey, buy my Shakeology and get on my challenge group. And, it was, hey, how are you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while.
The desperate sale.
Yeah. And so you did that over and over and over again for 7 days. And then you were able to, by doing that, and I guess it's basically the 3 vital behaviors you really practiced, right?
Yeah, literally. It's
Kind of on steroids for 7 days, but
I have a new take on the 3 vital behaviors, because I think we hear that term so much that we kind of overlook how powerful they actually are. Because we hear it every day. It's like 3 vital behaviors, and it gets monotonous. But when you look at it at a different approach and do what I did, I told you guys I needed $1,600, right? And by the end of day 8, and I was able to sit down, I had some cash from my massage clients, and I had a bunch of Beachbody stuff come in. So I'm checking my back office, calculating all the sales, and I made $1,636. Because
okay, so you know what, Charles? I want to recognize you right now on this call.
Thank you.
And I want to recognize you because you said something that gave me God bumps. I mean, I'm getting them really bad right now. You never gave up. Mm-hmm. And if everybody had that same heart to, there's a song, I get knocked down, but I get up again, and that, and that's and that's just true of life. I think everybody on this call has experienced different things in their life where they've been knocked off their horse, but you can't stay knocked off the horse because you got to get back on it. Mm-hmm. And so I want to recognize you as a true leader of looking at yourself in the mirror, making us all look at ourselves in the mirror on the days that we let fear rule us. And, with that fear, you get lazy and it's easier to hide, behind scrolling through Facebook. And, but I want to really acknowledge you as a leader because you are. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so thankful that you took the time to share this with everybody. And I don't want to kind of belabor it, but if we all did those actions that you talked about and practiced what you kind of preached today, we would all be very successful. Mm-hmm. And if you're already successful, just think how much more successful we would be if we practiced what you did and did it consistently every day and not try to cram it all in 1 week. But I think the nice thing is, Charles, you proved to yourself you got what it takes. You know what you need to do. We all know what we need to do. So I want to thank you so much for sharing this. I want to thank everybody on the team call. We're recording this, and I'm going to make sure I don't screw up and delete it. But Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I truly recognize you as a leader, and you're right about motivation. It's more about being inspired, and you inspired me today. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, is there one question here? Oh, no question. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to cut everybody loose. We're almost getting on to an hour here, so thank you all so much. We're going to have another call next Thursday. Be sure to get your team the link. We don't have access to everybody, so please spread the word for us so we can get more information to the team about these calls. And everybody have a great night.